Hey there, Scoobies. When we last looked in on Sunnydale, Buffy had faced the Master and lost. But then won. Season 2 kicks off nicely at the start of another school year. We start with Xander and Willow wandering by the cemetery, guessing film quotes.
Use the Force, Luke.
Do I even have to dignify that with a guess?
They reference the lack of monster activity.
This has been the most boring summer ever.
Which I'll come back to in a sec. Because just before they're interrupted, this is about to happen. I know that overall the fandom hates the show's flirtation with Wilner? Xando? You see why it doesn't work. But it does make me think that, though not her fault, Buffy is the thing that came between them.
Hi, guys.
Okay, back to the vampire. Being Buffy's metaphor for fighting her demons, I don't think it's a coincidence that they return to Sunnydale when she does.
Well, it's been a slow summer. I mean, that's the first vampire we've seen since you killed the Master.
Now is probably a good time to point out the much improved Dustin, hinting at the show's increased budget for the season. They mention burying the Master.
Biggest excitement was burying the Master.
And Buffy looks a little wigged and slightly defensive at the notion she may have seen Giles.
Have you seen Giles?
Why would I do that? Same at school.
As we're about to find out, her running with the Master has left Buffy with a bit of scar tissue, and Giles being her watcher is a stark reminder of that. Joyce and Hank are discussing Buffy's time with her dad, and he mentions how distant she was. And we get another mention to the movie.
You know, at least when she was burning stuff down, I knew what to say.
Yeah, you say don't do that. It's worth noting that this is the last appearance of Buffy's dad. I don't know what the real reason is for this, but I think that overall, it's a good thing for the show, as it allows the father-daughter relationship between her and Giles to grow.
I'll just be happy if she makes it through the school year.
This is a nice hint to the end of the season when Buffy's going to be kicked out of school. I like this next scene with Snyder and Giles. It's a little on the nose, but we get the point.
Every boy turns into a gibbering fool.
Miss Calendar.
Mr. Giles.
Jenny is the love interest.
See the way these kids gaze at each other.
I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but I'm a big fan of Jenny. I like her independence, and in some ways she's toying with Giles, as he's a little out of her league, while simultaneously flirting with him.
Naked?
And you probably spent all summer with your nose in a book.
I suppose you consider that frightfully dull.
Depends on the book.
I mentioned previously that the first season acts as its own B-movie reel that they then make fun of. And here, we're about at the 10-minute mark when it starts becoming self-referential, with Xander referencing how long it's taken for them to do so.
Consult my books.
Oh, 8 minutes and 33 seconds. Pay up. I called 10 minutes before you had to consult your books about something. Thank you.
I mean, come on. You've got to love the meta-dialogue. We get a training montage, and clearly something is off as the music gets more and more frantic as Buffy does.
Buffy!
I'm ready. Whatever they got coming next, I'm ready.
Snap to a crazy vampire pasture with the Anointed One. I like the continuation of the religious theme here. Luke and the others always treated the Master like some kind of deity, and it stands to reason that this would continue. The next scene is interesting, as it's a dream. Buffy's dream. This setup is to lead the viewer into thinking it's real life before the reveal. What makes it interesting to me is that Buffy's own dream, she's zoned out.
Buffy!
Fine. I'm fine.
Xander makes inappropriate comments.
Oh, come on, you can tell us. We're your bosom friends. The friends of your bosom.
And Willow dreams of him.
Dreams are meaningful.
Shh, tell me about it. The other night I dreamt that Xander...
The whole thing to this point seems only set up for the gotcha moment.
I've killed you once, it shouldn't be too difficult to do it again.
What?
Outside of this, the scene is significant.
Dreams are meaningful.
What Buffy's heart is telling her is that she's suffering from PTSD since the end of the first season. I think her pulling off the mask to reveal the Master is showing Buffy the catalyst, but it being Giles that first attacks her is also representative of the ongoing fear of being a Slayer. Giles represents her strongest link to that life, and now, truly realised the consequences of it.
One Slayer dies, next one's called. Wonder who she is.
The purpose of Xander and Willow sitting idly by is also her fear of this.
Been the Slayer, one girl in all the world, a chosen one.
He loves doing this part.
As the life of a Slayer is usually one of solitude, as will later be discussed in this season. Finally, as it is indeed a nightmare, I think Giles bearing down on her, trying to choke the life out of her, represents foreshadowing for the episode Helpless, and mirrors Buffy's nightmare of her father.
Me?
Having you. raising you, seeing you every day. I mean, do you have any idea what that's like?
Giles has started the journey of becoming a pseudo-father figure to Buffy, and she is scared of being let down by him. Angel comes to call on Buffy, and she becomes immediately defensive, but he leaves before she realises the misplaced anger.
I missed you.
Don't worry, Buffy, you'll get a chance to put it right. The next day, Buffy catches up with Willow and Xander, and we see that some of the writing and acting has a little ways to go.
Chivo Mato, they're playing?
No, Willow, they're gonna be clog dancing.
Chivo Mato can clog dance? Oh, sarcasm, right.
They run into Cordelia, who's changed a little from season 1.
So, did you guys fight any demons this summer?
Buffy's response is more cutting than usual, and I would say that this is borderline cruel.
Well, that works out great. You won't tell anyone that I'm the Slayer, and I won't tell anyone you're a moron.
We've discussed how Cordelia is the mirror of Buffy, the road not travelled. Here we see Buffy beginning to revert a little.
Now that was a good insult.
A little too good.
At the Bronze, Willow is showing concern for the way that Buffy is acting, and Xander is back to being distracted, while Willow tries and fails to rekindle that moment from the start of the episode. I appreciate that it's only been a summer, and the characters wouldn't have changed all that much, but the little Buffy obsession that Xander has after being rejected by her feels a little out of place.
I can't help thinking I've done something to make you angry.
I told you Buffy would get another chance to make it up to him.
Let's dance.
Okay. So, I have a lot of thoughts on this particular scene, and I've seen and read many takes on this episode, and the one thing that almost never gets mentioned is Xander's treatment here. Generally speaking, the fanbase will go to hell and back to talk about all the things that he does wrong and the way that he treats Buffy, Cordelia, Anya, etc., but they never really talk about this. To be clear, I'm very aware that she's doing this to make Angel jealous, and mentally she's trying to work through trauma. And this is a valid commentary, but it's not a defence. Remember where they left off relationship-wise.
You either feel a thing or you don't.
I don't.
So Buffy is acutely aware of Xander's feelings for her. Even before that, she wasn't just aware, but she was actually the person that Willow confided in regards to her feelings towards Xander, and Willow's her best friend. So this? What she does here? It's 100% wrong, and it's disgusting behaviour. She openly teases Xander, mocks Angel, and flirts with tarnishing her friendship with Willow. Sorry, rant over. Based on what I just said, you'd be forgiven for thinking that this makes me dislike Buffy, but it in fact aids in my love of the character. She's not all good. She makes mistakes. She does things to hurt people, and does things selfishly. It's therefore so brilliantly apt that following this, it's Queen Bitch herself that calls her out.
You're really campaigning for Bitch of the Year, aren't you?
Unlike the others that realise something is off, Cordy sees through the bravado and to the trauma beneath. It proves the excellent misdirection of Cordy's character. You are led to believe that she is a popular airhead, but in truth she's quite bright, and often sees things for what they are and speaks her mind. Cordy being kidnapped right under her nose is further proof she is off her game. The next day, Willow, Xander and Giles are discussing Buffy's behaviour, and we get one of my favourite jokes.
I mean, why else would she be acting like such a bitch?
Willow, I think we're all a little too old to be spelling things out.
A bitka?
Unsurprisingly, it's her metaphorical mind that realises that she...
They simply have what you Americans refer to as issues.
Buffy shows up and continues to berate her friends. Willow, being her spirit, takes the brunt of it, while her heart tries to fight back.
Giles did bury him.
But this is Slayer stuff, okay? Can we just have a little less from the civilians, please?
Okay, that's just about enough.
Snyder shows up to foreshadow the end of the season.
As summers grow, I smell trouble. I smell expulsion and just the faintest aroma of jail.
The Scoobies are researching when they are alerted to Cordy's kidnapping.
Come to the Bronze before it opens, or we make her a meal.
They're gonna cook her dinner?
Buffy heads off to the Bronze and continues to attack Angel.
Why are you riding me?
And here we get the first glimpse of Buffy beginning to admit to her trauma.
Because I don't trust you. You're a vampire.
Giles figures out the trap is set for them, and Buffy rushes back, but it's too late. Xander's line here is jarring at first.
If they hurt Willow, I'll kill you.
But as Buffy's heart, it would be absolutely what she'd be thinking to herself, that she is responsible for her friends' deaths. In an episode called When She Was Bad, it's fitting that we get a moment of torture from the usually good Buffy. This also hints at the harder side to her. They get to the vampire's lair, and Buffy distracts them while Angel and Xander rescue the others. The sequence ends with Buffy getting some catharsis by smashing the Master's bones. It's worth noting that once again it's Xander that notices this is what she needs.
It's over.
No, it's not.
I'm reminded here by the excellent melodic piano piece that Christoph Beck has taken over composer duties, and his work really sets the tone for the show going forward. As we come to the end of the episode, Buffy realises how she's acted, and I like that Giles, while trying to comfort her, doesn't downplay that she made a mistake.
Buffy, you acted wrongly, I admit that. But believe me, that was hardly the worst mistake you'll ever make.
Luckily for Buffy, she has some very understanding friends. Looking back at this episode with PTSD in mind as the theme, I noticed Buffy has reverted to a more immature personality. Before she was the Slayer, she was very much like Cordelia. One of these traits is the cutting nature in which Cordy handles those around her. Buffy reverting to the same manner is a defense mechanism. Because you know what they say, the best defense is a good offense. This episode sets us up well for what the show is going to be. The fact that the consequences from Season 1 have left a mark on Buffy and co. and not been brushed off or forgotten about adds weight to the proceedings. Not only that, but her ties to the others and their representations of her character are stronger here than they are in previous episodes, and it proves that they aren't afraid to tackle more heavy subject matter. But more on that later.